Okay, let's unpack this. Jetpacks. I mean, for most of our lives, this tech felt, well, strictly sci-fi, right? Or maybe just a stunt.
Absolutely. Like something out of a movie.
Exactly. But something's clearly shifting. We're doing a deep dive today into the global jetpack market using the global edition of the 2025 Market Report.
A really comprehensive look.
It is. And our mission here is to, pull out the key numbers, the trends, the projections, really map its journey from 2021 out to 2033.
And the scale of growth you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. The scale and who's driving it.
Mm.
It might just change how you think about this tech.
Well, what's fascinating looking at this report is just how quickly that whole narrative around jetpacks is changing. It's really moving from like pure novelty
Right.
to a technology that's attracting serious investment. It's finding, real world applications.
Tangible uses.
Exactly. These numbers, they're not just guesses. They reflect a market that's actually gaining momentum. It suggests real progress in things like power, safety, control systems. It's all starting to come together.
Yeah. Absolutely. And those global figures from the report, they really hammer that momentum home. I mean, back in 2021, the market revenue was, what, $199.8 million?
Yeah, a decent starting point. Shows some niche uses were already there.
A very solid start, true. But, like you said, the jump is, well, it's something else.
It really is.
Because by this year, 2025, that figure, it's projected to hit $450 million.
Wow.
More than doubling in just 4 years. But hang on, because the report looks further out,
Yeah.
projecting it'll soar to $2,281.9 million by 2033.
Okay, so from under 200 million to over 2.2 billion in about 12 years. That's significant.
It really is.
And when you calculate that out, the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR globally, is 22.5%.
That's strong.
It's very strong. It's not just steady growth. It really points to a market hit, like an acceleration phase.
And the report digs into what's fueling this. It mentions specific sectors. We're talking military, recreational use, and increasingly emergency services.
Which makes sense. Think about quick response search and rescue in tough terrain.
Or even things like high-risk industrial inspections, alongside the, fun stuff like extreme sports.
And that focus, especially on military and emergency services, it suggests there's this growing confidence, right, in the tech's reliability, its capability under pressure.
Critical use cases.
Exactly, where performance really matters.
Yep.
And that investment, well, it's reflected right there in those growth numbers. So it raises the question, where is this actually happening most rapidly?
That's where the regional breakdown in the report is so helpful. Let's kick off with North America. It was the dominant player back in 2021, pulling in $82.3 million.
Nearly half the global market right there. Suggests, significant early investment or maybe some established players already operating.
And it's keeping up a strong pace. North America's projected to hit $181.8 million this year, 2025, and climb to an impressive $885.4 million by 2033.
Okay.
The regional CAGR there is 21.9%, so, pretty close to the global average.
So very robust growth.
Definitely. And breaking it down by country, the U.S., naturally, is the big driver. Started at $59.1 million, projected $608.3 million by 2033. That's a 21.4% CAGR.
Big numbers.
Canada's strong, too. $17.1 million in 21, projected $196.6 million by 33, with a 22.5% CAGR.
Right on the global average.
But what's interesting is Mexico. Smaller base, $6.1 million in 2021, but it's projected to grow to $80.6 million by 2033. That gives it the highest CAGR in North America, 24.1%.
Oh, that's interesting. That higher rate in Mexico.
Yeah.
It could point to faster adoption, maybe newer applications catching on quicker there.
Could be.
Maybe specific industrial needs or public service uses where jetpacks offer a unique edge over older methods. But the overall North American picture, especially U.S. numbers, it really lines up with that military and government investment the report mentioned.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe. It's the next big market. The report shows Europe at $58.2 million back in 2021.
Okay, sizable.
It's projected to reach $129.2 million in 2025, so this year, and forecast to hit $638.9 million by 2033.
And the growth rate.
The regional CAGR for Europe is 22.1%. Again, very much aligned with that global trend.
Europe's obviously a diverse bunch of markets, so seeing such a consistent regional rate suggests those drivers, emergency response, industrial access, maybe even recreation, they're pretty widespread across the continent.
That's a good point. And the report gives figures for quite a few European countries, and they largely follow that strong upward curve. Places like the UK, Germany, France, substantial markets. CGR is in the low to mid-20s.
So UK 23.2%, Germany 22.8%, France 22.4%, all very healthy.
Exactly. And even markets like Italy, Spain, Russia, they're contributing significantly, showing CAGRs mostly above 20%. Even tiny Luxembourg is listed, though much smaller numbers, still growing.
Right. Italy 20.9, Spain 20.4, Russia 21.3, even Luxembourg at 19.6%.
Yeah, it's a widespread phenomenon, not just in one or two spots, and that rest of Europe category is pretty substantial too, growing at a similar 22.3% CGR.
It just reinforces that this isn't some niche geographical interest. The need or the opportunity for jetpack tech is being recognized and acted on across these mature economies.
Okay, now, let's look at the region that the report flags as having the fastest pace of growth, Asia Pacific.
Ah, okay. This should be interesting.
Yeah, this market was $43.3 million in 2021, expected to jump significantly to $101.9 million in 2025.
Quite a leap already.
And then surge to $562.5 million by 2033. Its regional CAGR, 23.8%. That's the highest of all the major regions.
Wow, 23.8%. That accelerated rate in Asia Pacific, that's really compelling. It suggests conditions there are particularly maybe ripe for rapid adoption, perhaps different drivers or a greater urgency for specific applications compared to
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
drivers or a greater urgency for specific applications compared to North America or Europe.
Well, let's dig into the countries there. China is the clear leader, kind of mirroring its economic scale. $17.1 million in 21, projected $241.9 million by 33. That's a 24.6% CAGR.
Very strong, leading the region in growth rate too.
Japan's also significant. $9.2 million in 21, projected $99 million by 33, but a slightly lower CAGR at 21.9%. Still solid growth, though.
But here's the real standout in terms of pace. India started smaller, $4.9 million in 2021, but it's projected to explode to $77.1 million by 2033.
And the CAGR.
Get this, 25.7%. That's the highest country CAGR mentioned in the entire report.
Wow, 25.7%. That's remarkable.
Isn't it? South Korea, 23.5% CGR, Australia, 22.1%, and the whole Southeast Asia segment, 23.1%, are also showing really strong growth.
That rapid expansion in places like India and China.
Yeah.
Especially India's leading percentage growth. It points towards specific needs, right? Maybe linked to their huge populations, urban density issues, or just vast, sometimes inaccessible rural areas.
Could tie directly into those emergency services or maybe infrastructure inspection applications the report highlighted.
Exactly. Jetpacks offer a really unique mobility solution in those kinds of challenging environments.
Okay, so rounding out the global picture, the report also covers Latin America and the Middle East and Africa. Yeah. In Latin America, Brazil leads the pack. $4.1 million in 21, projected $47.7 million by 33, a 22.6% CAGR.
So right around the average. Yeah. Argentina, 22.3% CAGR, and Chile, 24.6% CAGR, are also showing solid growth near that global average.
Okay.
But what's notable again here are Colombia and Peru. They start from smaller bases, less than $1 million each in 2021.
Right, 0.7M and 0.4M.
But their projected growth rates, exceptionally high. Colombia's at 25.8% CAGR.
Higher than India's.
Almost. And Peru actually leads the entire Latin American region at 26.7% CAGR.
Whoa. That's the highest regional rate we've seen for country.
It is.
It's fascinating seeing those smaller markets showing the highest percentage growth. It often means, new high-impact applications are being found or scaled up relatively quickly there.
Yeah.
Maybe tackling unique geographical or logistical hurdles where jetpacks just offer a massive immediate advantage.
Makes sense. And finally, the Middle East and Africa. Markets here are, well, smaller in absolute dollars right now, but look at the CGRs, they're consistently strong.
Okay.
Egypt, 22.7%. Turkey, 23.1%. South Africa, 23.4%. Even Nigeria, 21.2%. All projecting growth well over 20%.
And the rest in the Middle East segment.
Also growing strong at 21.8%.
So really, whether you look at the big established economies or these emerging markets, the data just shows this consistent, rapid embrace of jetpack technology.
Yeah, it's global.
It really suggests that core value proposition, unique mobility, unique access, it resonates everywhere across different economic situations. And for those urgent use cases, the report flags.
So when you step back and you look at all this data together, the explosive global CAGR, that multi-billion-dollar projection for 2033, the incredibly consistent high growth across so many different regions,
Yeah.
all driven by sectors like military, emergency response, industrial access, what does this really imply about where this technology is heading and, its potential impact on your world?
Well, it strongly suggests that jetpacks are, they're moving beyond just being a stunt device.
Siri.
Seriously.
Right.
The kind of investment shown in these numbers, it indicates real confidence that those technical hurdles, power, endurance, safety, are being overcome. It's pushing the tech towards being a genuinely viable tool for critical, high-value jobs.
Yeah, we're watching it move from sci-fi into, well, practical mobility solution.
Exactly. It isn't just about daredevils anymore. It's about governments, industries, emergency services seeing a real potential return on investment here.
And these projections, they're not just random numbers.
No, they're based on observed market activity, anticipated adoption rates, all driven by those specific needs the report keeps highlighting.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up this deep dive into the global jetpack market report, we're seeing explosive, really widespread growth globally. It's fundamentally shifting jetpacks from being, a novelty item towards more mainstream practical applications.
Especially in those critical sectors, military, emergency services, high-tech mobility.
Right. And the numbers point towards that multi-billion-dollar potential within the next decade, backed up by those consistently high key GRs everywhere.
It's a market that's evolving, frankly, much faster than maybe a lot of people might have predicted just a few years back.
Absolutely. So, given these really rapid growth rates, this focus on high stakes uses like rescue and defense and the clear investment trends we've seen in this report. Here's a thought for you to maybe mull over today. How soon might we actually start seeing jetpacks deployed in ways that directly impact our communities or industries? Maybe helping first responders in a city crisis or accessing remote disaster areas or just fundamentally changing how certain logistical tasks get done, the numbers.
Well, they suggest it might be sooner than you think.
Okay, let's unpack this. Jetpacks. Seriously, for decades, they've felt like pure science fiction.
Absolutely. Comic books,
Yeah.
spy movies, maybe some old cartoons, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But what if that's changing? Like, really changing? What if they're actually becoming, real world tools?
It's a fascinating shift, isn't it? We're genuinely seeing personal flight move out of imagination and into, well, actual applications, especially in some very specific high-demand areas.
Right. And to really get a handle on where this potentially transformative tech stands today, we dug into an analysis. It's from Cognitive Market Research.
Good source.
Yeah. So our mission here for this deep dive is basically to pull out the key stuff from their report. What's pushing the market, what are the big hurdles, and, what trends look promising for the future.
We're looking at the core dynamics, really.
Yeah.
The tech leaps, the money involved, the rules or lack of rules for strapping an engine to someone and, well, sending them up.
So, starting with the drivers. Based on that cognitive market research analysis, what are the big forces giving jetpacks momentum right now?
Okay, so the analysis really points to one fundamental thing. A growing, clear demand for personal and tactical aerial mobility, meaning there's a real need for ways to move people quickly, flexibly, in places where, a truck or even a helicopter just won't work. Too slow, too big.
Ah, okay. So it's about being compact, fast,
Yeah.
getting into tight spots where a chopper can't land.
Precisely. That unique ability makes them super attractive for certain high-stakes jobs the source talks about.
Like what, for example?
Think emergency response teams needing immediate access somewhere tricky, or search and rescue in really difficult terrain, and definitely specialized military ops that need that kind of agility.
And the tech itself must be key. I mean, people tried this decades ago, right? What does the analysis say about advancements making it more viable now?
Yeah, this is where it stops feeling like sci-fi. The report highlights big breakthroughs, specifically propulsion systems and lightweight materials, stuff that just wasn't practical 10, 15 years ago.
What kind of breakthroughs are we talking?
Things like much better fuel efficiency, propulsion units that are genuinely miniaturized but still pack a punch, and using aerospace-grade composites everywhere. Super strong, super light materials, shaves off critical weight,
And how does that translate in the real world for someone actually flying one?
It means much better performance, basically. The analysis shows flight times have really increased. Still limited, yeah, but getting longer. Controls are better, and crucially, safety systems are improving. They're more stable now, more endurance. It pushes them towards being actually practical tools.
Okay, so demand's there, tech's improving. Where's the money coming from? Is there serious investment happening according to the report?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key point in the analysis. They highlight a definite uptick in investment, and significantly, it's coming from defense and aerospace sectors worldwide.
So not just VCs hoping for the next gadget.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Space sectors worldwide.
So not just VCs hoping for the next gadget. This is strategic.
Exactly. Strategic funding.
And where's that money going? What's the focus?
Mostly R&D. Research and development focused on very specific, high-value uses. Think combat scenarios, reconnaissance missions.
Can you give an example from the source? A military use case driving this.
Yeah, the report specifically mentions things like vertical battlefield mobility, literally letting soldiers fly over complex terrain or obstacles,
Wow.
and also rapid troop deployment into really difficult spots.
And the overall effect of this defense funding.
The analysis concludes it's really speeding up innovation. They even mention it's leading to some early-stage deployments, field testing within military groups.
That sounds like a big step beyond just lab work.
It is. It signals things are maturing.
Okay. So powerful drivers, demand, tech, investment, especially defense money. But like any new market, there must be challenges. What does cognitive market research see as the main hurdles holding things back?
Yeah, the report's pretty clear. It's not all smooth flying. The first big constraint they point to, basic physics, really. Payload capacity and flight duration.
Still, so they can fly, but not very long, and can't carry much.
Exactly. Still limited by current energy storage tech, batteries, fuel cells, whatever. It means flight times are often still just, a few minutes. And they can't really carry much beyond the pilot and maybe some essential gear.
And the practical results of that.
Well, it really restricts them, doesn't it, for widespread commercial use?
Yeah.
Or longer missions. Forget about it for now. A quick hop for a rescue, maybe. Commuting across town. Not happening yet.
Right. Beyond the technical limits, what about cost and complexity? That's got to be a factor.
Oh, huge factor. The analysis really stresses this. These are not simple machines. We're talking incredibly precise engineering, custom-built miniature engines often, really complex control systems.
Which means they're expensive to build and need super specialized maintenance teams.
You got it. And the report notes, that just puts them out of reach for most people or organizations. Access is pretty much limited to governments with deep pockets or extremely high-end specialized users.
Yeah, you're not picking one up at the hardware store.
Not anytime soon, no.
And the last big challenge they mention, and this seems crucial if these are ever going to be common, the regulatory gap.
This might be the biggest hurdle for wider use. The report points out there just aren't comprehensive safety rules or aviation standards specifically for personal jetpacks yet.
Which sounds concerning, given they fly pretty high, pretty fast, and maybe without the backup systems traditional planes have.
Absolutely. Big safety concerns. And think about it without solid rules for airspace. Defined flight paths, altitude limits, proper licensing. How do you safely mix jetpacks with planes, helicopters, drones? Even just keep them away from buildings.
Yeah, integration seems impossible without rules.
The framework just isn't there yet.
Okay, so we've got the strong drivers pushing forward, but also these really significant technical cost and regulatory breaks. Does the analysis paint a totally gloomy picture, or are there promising signs, trends pointing towards a future?
No, it's not all doom and gloom. Despite the hurdles, the report does shift to a more, positive outlook, looking at future trends. One interesting one, the rise in public displays, entertainment uses.
You mean like seeing them zip around at air shows or big events?
Exactly that. The analysis suggests these public demos are doing more than just wowing crowds. They're capturing the public's imagination, building awareness, a bit of enthusiasm. It's kind of soft marketing, helping the tech gain social acceptance, making it seem less outlandish, more possible.
That makes sense. Seeing is believing, kind of. What about other technical trends?
The source points to a lot of work going into electric and hybrid jetpack models.
Ah, okay. To deal with the noise and emissions concerns from fuel burners.
Precisely. And the reliance on fossil fuels. It's a direct response to those issues we mentioned.
And what's the potential there with cleaner, quieter power?
The analysis thinks these are really promising. especially for, say, urban mobility ideas down the road, or maybe civilian uses where noise and pollution rules are much stricter.
Right, could open up totally new possibilities beyond just military or emergency stuff. And finally, they mentioned smart integration.
Yeah, this is all about making them safer and easier to fly. Integrating tech like heads-up displays HUDs right into the pilot's view. And augmented reality, AR.
What do those actually do for the pilot?
They give the pilot real-time flight data, speed, altitude, navigation, whatever. It enhances their situational awareness, especially in complex places. And it can simplify the controls. The analysis really emphasizes that these kinds of intelligent systems are crucial for making jetpacks practical for, well, normal humans to operate safely. Military or eventually maybe commercial users too.
Okay, so let's step back a bit. After diving into this cognitive market research report, we're seeing a market that's clearly moving fast, driven by real demand for this unique mobility, big tech leaps in materials and propulsion, and serious money coming in, especially from defense.
Right, but balanced against that, you've got those very real hurdles. The physics limits flight time, payload, the sheer cost and complexity, and that huge regulatory question mark hanging over everything.
The report does end on a more optimistic note with those trends. Public visibility, building acceptance, the move towards electric power, smarter controls, making them easier and safer.
Yeah, it suggests that despite the challenges, the overall direction is, well, up. As the analysis puts it, the sky is becoming the destination, not the limit.
It really paints a picture of a technology right on the edge, doesn't it? Potentially changing how we even think about moving around in 3 dimensions.
A compelling picture, definitely. A technology on the cusp.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, thinking about everything the cognitive market research analysis showed us, here's something to chew on. The report highlights both that increasing public visibility, the entertainment side, and that current, pretty serious lack of safety regulations. How do you think that tension, the growing public exposure versus the missing rule book, how might that shape the path jetpacks take towards actually becoming part of our lives? Definitely something worth watching.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.